Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church. And I've been talking this week about the greatness of God. And I want to share a passage with you today from the 22nd chapter of the second book of Samuel. This 22nd chapter, the whole chapter, is a song of praise. It was written the day after God delivered David from Saul's hand, who wanted to kill him. And there's so much good stuff in here. There's 51 verses of it that I don't have time to read all of it. So I'm going to read just a little bit, beginning with verse 28. David says to God, "You rescue the humble, but your odd eyes watch the proud and humiliate them. O Lord, you are my lamp. The Lord lights up my darkness. In your strength, I can crush an enemy, and with God, I can scale any wall. God's way is perfect, and the Lord's promises prove true. He is a shield for all who look to Him for protection." Well, like I said, I could read a whole bunch, but I'll just stop there. David obviously is quite happy that Saul was not victorious in killing him. Now, if you remember your history, uh, Saul was anointed by God and then did things God didn't approve of, and his anointing was taken away and given to David. And Saul at first figured David would be his predecessor or his successor, sorry, and everything would be great. But as time went on, it became clearer and clearer that Saul was not God's person anymore, and David was rapidly ascending to that position. So Saul did what most rulers in our world then and now would do. He decided to eliminate the competition. Only it didn't work. God prevailed in protecting David. Now, let me just say, David went on and did some really ungodly things too. So this is a story of forgiveness as much as it is anything else. But David recognizes what God did. I'll read it again. You rescue the humble, but your eyes watch the proud and humiliate them. At this point in time, David certainly was humble. Now, when he got caught with Bathsheba, he was more of the proud and he got humiliated. I don't know why people think they are so important. Even at the top of the ladder, they're just people. You and I are just people. We have different skills, different abilities, different positions in society, different amount of money, but we're still just people. And for those who are humble and recognize how much they need God, David says that God rescues you. And he rescued David, and he'll rescue you today. So it goes on to say, God's way is perfect. In your strength, I can crush an army and I can scale any wall. What does he mean there? Well, it means that there is nothing that can happen that David can't overcome with God's help and through God's plan. And to you and to me today, who live thousands of years after David, there's nothing that can happen to us that we can't overcome. Now, I know in the midst of whatever it is, that looks really difficult. And it is. Life is full of very difficult moments. But that does not mean that there isn't a way out. And so he says, Lord, in your strength, I can do any of this. The Lord's promises prove true. God's promises really prove true. Now, if you haven't experienced that in your life, well, I'm sorry, you could have. And for many thousands and millions of us who have seen God work miracles when there seemed to be no way, we know that God can figure this thing out. And David's just announcing it. And so for you today, I want you to think about your life. What are you struggling with? And if you're not struggling with anything, well, listen anyway, because at some point in time you will. God can cover anything when we allow Him in our lives and we commit to following His will wherever that might go. It says God's ways are perfect. All of the Lord's promises are true. I'd like to invite you to browse through, oh, I don't know, pick a pick a small pick a small letter like Philippians and see what promises are in there. All of them are true. Maybe then look at Ephesians and see what's there. And all of those promises are true. God is absolutely dependable. David knew it, and he writes this whole psalm. So if you got a little time today, read all of the chapter 22 of 2 Samuel and see some of the things that David is thankful for. I'll bet you've got a bunch in your life too. Well, I appreciate you sharing your time. If you have a need or a concern, let us know. We'll do whatever we can as fast as we can to help meet your need. Thanks so much for listening today. I wish you God's best, and I'll be back tomorrow with one more day of talking about God's goodness.